Hobby now. Today is May 15th, 2024. And this is Hobby Now with Rogue Hobby News Daily Reporter ZiggyNo. Lot to talk about this week. So grab your Coke, your beverage, whatever it is you enjoy. We're going to talk about the Shack Attack, vintage sports card attack, or I forget the guy's name. The guy in the Shack who dances, right? He made a massive attack on Neo. Talked about PSA pop control. Really good video. We're going to talk about that. I also want to talk about influencers. Scotty B and Neo put out some really influential videos this week. And I want to ask you, why do they do this? You know, I love to keep my eyes on what's being told out there, the message. I always ask why. What's the purpose of your video? I also want to bring up really interesting, picked up some terms from both, I think it was Sports Cards Lessons mentioned this, and Phil did, and that's about the hobby. I use this term right, finding the right buyer for your hobby items. And I'm going to give the analogy, the hobby's a lot like poker. We'll come back to that in a moment. To talk about Sports Card Radio and their visit to Burbank, and how the chat was on fire, roasting Ryan for being there, and then really real what's the real deal? We'll talk about that. I want to give a shout out to Carolina Collector. The Carolina Collector did a great test on Kurt's Card Care, testing Kurt's Card Care. It's not this positive video like on how it's great at fixing cards. He tested on different elements and chemicals and items. Check it out. Good video. I want to mention CC2 and GeeOff did a really great pump and dump video talking about how you should be buying all the wonderful Topps products that are coming out, and they're already trying to preset the floor, which really irks me. We'll talk more about that. I saw the videos from several people this week, but I will give credit. I want to say it was Opossum Bud who pointed my attention to GameStop buying PSA slabs and the excitement that can create. Lastly, we're going to talk about Flipping Steve, and he brought up a great topic. Do people, these flippers, these sports card influencers, these guys in the business, what should they or should they not transparently disclose? Like, for example, if you're getting flown to a conference, you're given money to go spend, should that be disclosed? Should we assume that when you post, I spent $25,000, that was your money that you earned? Or I don't know. We'll talk about that too. And I spent a little bit because Steve asked it while he had Dustin sitting right there. And I always looked at Dustin as full-time sports card influencer, and I don't think Dustin discloses much. So we'll close with that topic as well. And I will, of course, share what I'm doing in the hobby. A lot of great stuff going on in the hobby. I mean, it's super busy. Life is busy. Man, May is kicking my butt, and boy, so much happening. I'm super excited. So, like, comment, subscribe. We're going to get right into this. Start with topic one in just a moment. First topic out of the box: vintage sports card shack. I forget the guy's name. Good guy, like his content. I will say lately he's gone a little crazy, in my opinion. And I don't mean crazy in a mean way. If you're watching my video, I'm just your approach has been a little more extravagant than I thought. In his latest video, and I will say I don't think he's referring to me. I have not been grilling. I would like to know more about the FBI, and I am defending Neo. I don't think Neo trimmed the card. In his latest video, he shows this video where Neo talks about what he does, and he pulls up the definition of removing a fuzz as a form of trimming. And all I will say to this dude is that you scare me. You scare me, vintage card check, dude. Think about this. Like, first of all, we're talking about cards, man. We're talking about cards, man. We're talking about cards, man. We're talking about grading cards, man. And you want to like execute Neo in front of the entire sports card community because he rubbed off. Maybe he took a razor and trimmed it. I don't know. Honestly, if you took a scissors and you raised it off, or took a lighter and burned it up, whatever you did to remove fuzz from the side of your card, I don't think everyone's going to have the same um, opinion. Now, did you alter the card? Yeah, but I don't think the card was meant to have a little piece of fuzz hanging out the side. I don't think that was a manufacturer's intent. I don't know. And let me say this. It scares me because, again, let me just say this. Guys, this is a hobby. And although I agree that it's technically by the Webster's definition of blah, 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 that's great. But, dude, it's subjective. That's what I've always said. Grading is subjective. It's done by wizards in high towers with magic, flamethrower, fireball, fire. I said flamethrower, fireball, shield of snow, shield of ice, shield of ice, shield of ice. That's what happens, guys, when they grade your cards. You don't believe me? Go look for yourself. Sports car Jack. I would just say this, dude. You scare me. You're just a little. You remind me like the guys wearing the A for adultery back in the 1600s. We can't be this black and white. Let's not call Neo a trimmer. Okay. Let's embrace Neo. In fact, I think you would embrace Neo. I can't see you really being that upset with Neo. And I can't see Neo probably not even going to give you the attention and poke down at you. But so I'll go ahead and poke on his behalf. Come on, sports car Jack. You can do better than that. Come on, man. That's not trimming. Come on, man. Come on, man. Okay. He did bring us some interesting stuff about PSA pop control, I thought. And I do like the fact that you kind of twist this guy's, a little spinner and goes off in the right direction. Go after PSA. Talking about how they retool. If they see a lot of tens, they look at their standards for what a 10 is. Hey, maybe we're too wide on the centering. Maybe it should be, 45, 55. I don't know. I think we've all seen this. We've all seen this kind of curve. In fact, one of the best people does this is Tyler Short does a video about how when a new product comes out, there's this curve of tens, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and then it kind of loops down, and then you get less tens over time, almost where you get almost no tens over time. And it has to do with a lot of things, but there's still product being opened later on, pack fresh product that opens later on, but the 10 rate, the gem rate is down. So his lesson this, you can't look at a gem rate and go, well, all dude cards are gemming 67%. So if I just buy 10 of them, 6 out of 10 are going to gem. No, that doesn't make sense. You've got to be in the right time period. And in fact, I have a PSC order that kind of shows this to you. Anyway, great, great topic, Shaq dude. But let's just reel it all back. Now, I do want to transition on Neo. Neo did put out a video that I thought was very interesting, and I have criticized him for this in the past. I also want to tie in with Scotty B, because so many people out there love both Scotty B and Neo, and I'm not being mean to these guys. I just when they put these videos together, I'm like, why did you do this? The reason they do it is they want likes, they want views, they want attention, they want money. Not necessarily that they're selling something, but they indirectly are trying to profit off of their point of view. So Neo does this video basically arguing that raw is better than grading right now because a raw card just selling for more than a PSA 9. If you get a PSA 9, blah, 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 you're screwed, blah, 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 screwed, blah, 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 screwed, blah, 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 screwed. He's very negative, kind of Eeyore, rained on your parade. Now, he did say at the end he's more likely to probably grade. So almost felt like he's trying to talk you into not grading raw cards. Just go ahead and sell those raw cards. Just sell the raw cards. Don't even try. You're probably going to get a PSA 9. Just sell. Not even put it this way. I remember him telling me, not me directly, but when I pulled my Connor, you might as well sell it now raw. You get more for it raw than you would if you PSA, if you sell it to PSA. And he was absolutely right. If I sold my Connor raw, I would have made 400, like 450 on it, $400, right? By grading it and paying extra to grade it and selling it as a PSA 8 in its slab, I only made probably $300. I probably lost 100 some bucks on that, right? But I'll move forward. I also look at this differently, hobby/business, right? So I'm not going to go into all the finances of it, but I'm not spinning that same narrative, if that makes sense. So let me say this too, in my argument. I grade a lot of stuff because I do think it's subjective. So I will grade a whole bunch of base cards that came from a break because I believe that those are going to pay for me a benefit. I'm going to make money off them. Even though some of them might not be. Like, for example, I set a bunch off recently where even a friend of mine told me these are going to be PSA 8s and 9s. And he was right on several of them, but I still sent them out there. And I will sell them as 8s or 9s, or I'll give them away as 8s. But I have a system going that I use, and I'll get 10s where people will say, hey, you shouldn't have got a 10 on this. So my system, I recommend you learn your own thing for yourself. Everybody does their own thing differently. The other video that caught my attention was Scotty B did this 100 boxes loss thing where he examines the ripping of 100 boxes and calculates the loss for open 100 boxes. And I've seen these videos before by him. And I left a comment for him, and I thought to myself, I mean, clearly you're making this video to prove a point. A, I want you to view my view. I got stuff. I'm gonna show you how negative it is to open in real wax, and wax has no value. It's the worst thing you can do. Singles are the way to go. But my argument to that been, dude, imagine if you had looked at that and said, what you should have done is analyze those 100 boxes. What team would have been the best return? Like, had you bought the Braves for, whatever it was per box on average, would you have made money? Are there any that you made money on? Because I will tell you from my experience of breaking, I think if you know what you're doing, you look at the checklist, you make the right calculated bet, you can make money buying into breaks. In fact, I even believe that not only is it happening, I think it's controlled, and that's even something that concerns me more. I think really, um, there's so much talk about breaking, and it just really it concerns me that there's not more regulation, self-regulation really into it, analyzing what's going on, where the boxes are coming from. I'll talk about this in another video. Inventory tracking. I'm still convinced inventory tracking can happen. I'm not saying that companies are directly sending loaded boxes, but let's put it this way. You ever watch grandma make cookies and you know that some of her cookies have more chocolate chips in them than others? That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So let me just close on this influencer thing. My concern with the influencers is that when I see Scotty B and Neo who have great channels, 15,000, 20,000 subscribers, I don't know. They're the voices. They put out great content. But I wish they would listen to the contrary reasons or other perspectives on that, or respond even to some of the comments, like, dude, I still think raw to grade is a great way. I think it's about learning what raw to grade is. I think it's about having control, doing your own PSA submissions. There's a lot of things you could push on that as a narrative. The same thing with the 100 boxes. No, don't buy 100 boxes, but maybe if you make the right choice buying into breaks, or you buy the right singles or the right teams, the right checklist, or know what you're chasing, that's all adds to the story. On that, let's move into other influencers. Sports Card Radio took some grilling this week. I think it was Ryan was on site with Burbank. And I will say this, first of all, I really enjoyed the conversation that they had with Rob. I've been critical of Rob. I think he runs a pawn shop. And I don't mean that to be negative. I just think he does. He runs a pawn shop, buys cheap, sells for more. And it's a great system. He's set up a phenomenal system on that, a really, really good system on that. I like some of his perspectives on stuff. I'm shocked at how he stayed his position on fractionalized gambling slash um, breaking. In fact, I would love to have a conversation with him. I'd love to see him champion regulated breaking. And when I say regulated breaking, I don't want the federal government to regulate breaking. Or as Mr. Infrago says, Congress would have to vote on that. No, they wouldn't, Mr. Infrago. I just would like for breaking to be regulated or have some of the same rules that we already see under states when it comes to gambling. And I think some oversight would make sense. I think, for example, Fanatics should hire an oversight committee, right? People who participate in breaks, they track quality content, and they report on that publicly. Maybe it's not even hired by them, maybe it's sponsored by them, maybe like kind of a consumer reports. Volunteer to do it too. I'd be happy to get into it. I'll even disclose what the break was and sell all the break stuff. But I think that would be another thing that we could do to kind of regulate, monitor conversations, what's going on in the breaking. I don't have the bandwidth to personally do it. I mean, I got a full life and I love my family. So, but let's talk more about that later on. Um, Sports Card Radio took grilling for not grilling Jeff, and I thought about this. Like, I don't know, like they've curated this audience hates Jeff, hates Jeff. And I'll be honest, one thing that I've always been critical about Sports Card Radio is I don't feel like we're selecting what the solution is. How do we make things better? They're really good at like Rob even said, pointing out where there's problems, but how do we make these things better? Like, okay, how can we make Jeff better? Jeff is really, in my opinion, really gone to shit lately, GeeOff, with the whole sports card. Now he's an owner because it puts him in a different perspective. Like I said, now he's selling you the value of a box. And before he knew that there was no value in a box. And that's just nature of the beast. It is what it is, I guess I'd say. But how can we make it different? Like, who could be a voice? Sports card radio. Do you want to be a voice? Is it sports card nonsense? Do I have a hard time doing that because, first of all, they block my voice, and anybody's blocking people isn't open to really being a true leader. Then when you want to dictate your voice and not participate with open conversation and debate. Anyway, I'm going too far. But we do need, in my opinion, leadership, voice, regulation, and whether it comes from the community or from outside, I think it's only a matter of time. I mean that. I do think it's only a matter of time before the outside starts looking in at the money and what's going on, states, whatever it might be, children gambling, whatever it might be, that will eventually get there to be change inside this industry. So I'd say we get ahead of that, put the horse in front of the cart before the cart runs us over. Um, I thought about dialing on sports card radio. I'm hesitant to do that. I don't want to be part of the hate mongering. I want to be more of the rational crowd. But I'm thinking about doing it because I do enjoy what they're talking about. And maybe I'll try to pitch that message. Look, I'm very critical of certain people. I'll call them out on anybody's channel. But I also want change. I want to see us change. We make things positive. How do we do that? On that note, quick shout out to the Carolina Collector. This is not a commercial. Just really enjoy his content. Just found him under 500 subscribers. Did several tests on Kurt's card care. The cool thing was he took Kurt's card care, put it on like some coins because different coins have different metals. Put it on a wrench, put it on a card, let it soak, let it sit there, let the residue create, then wiped it off, showed you how to wipe off. It just was very, very detailed testing of Kurt's card care. Asked some really good questions. You follow his channel. He was using it before and then has changed his opinion, does not use it, and explains why he stopped using it. I just applaud content like that, where you're really taking initiative, putting out really, really good information and sharing that with the community. I wish bigger channels would pick that stuff up as well. So bigger channels who might be watching, don't even mention me. Just go check out the Carolina Card Care guy, card collector, and say you found it on your own. I don't give a shit. He needs more subscribers. Okay, listen to the conversation. This is where, like I said, Jeff has just become GeeOff, as I like to think of him now. Who told me GeeOff? GeeOff and Card Collector 2 were talking about fanatics. And I just thought to myself, these guys had to come out of there high-fiving each other, going, dude, we're going to take allocation away from all those little mom and pop shops because our voices are huge. You know what I'm saying? Like, boom, 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 yeah, man, let's go do it. You get on my channel, I'll get on your channel. You get on my channel, you pump this, I pump that. It made me sad. I'll put this out. Jeff, you wonder why people want you to fail. Personally, I don't care, dude. At this point, I really don't care. Um, like I said, I buy as much as I can direct. I like breaks. If you have good prices, I'll come to your store or whatever. But you don't see why you pissed off a lot of people, dude. Card collector too. Same thing, man. I mean, oh, sad. I don't know what to say. I don't even know what the scoring will be. Like I'll put it this way. You know they're going to be celebrating people losing allocations. So, did you hear Bill's no longer got allocation? Yeah, fuck Bill. Which reminds me, let me bring this back a step. Isn't the card community a lot like the poker community? Let me take a second. If anybody out there has played poker, I'm not saying any of you professionally or semi-pro or just hang out at poker rooms, poker, or I played a lot of poker in my life, never professionally. Um, there's this poker community. The way I kind of think of it is, if you come into the poker community and you're not part of the community, they are going to eat you alive. And they're going to just take advantage of the fact you don't know better. You're ignorant to the fact you made a mistake. That's not my fault. It's your fault. They shred you apart. I mean, they are just ferocious. You are fish. Rounders is a great movie to kind of explain that. You either are a shark or you're a fish. And if you don't know which one you are, you're a fish. Um, Poker community, sports card community. Here's an example. I was listening to sports card lessons. He's talking about some card, and some guy came up to him, and we're talking about getting out of a card. The other guy said to sports card lessons, well, unless you find somebody who knows nothing about cards, you're not going to sell at that price. And sports card lessons, Ken even said, well, it made him feel kind of dirty, bad. But this dude, this is the hobby. I've been saying this since day one. Okay. The hobby is to price something so that the grandpa, the unexpected grandmother, the person who does not know, the person who's buying on emotion, the same idiot who spends $500 for an overpriced piece of memorabilia. And I'm not going to pick on something specifically, but I'll put this way. I always thought jerseys were way fucking overpriced. Okay. Because you're really paying for the licensing. But the same person will spend that much money on a jersey. And I've done that myself. I admit it. Okay. Is easy prey for the dealer who's going to get a card sold at a high number because it's stickered with high. That is the industry. And I'm glad that Ken said it made him feel bad because it makes me feel bad. I don't like that. That's why I don't want to be on that side of the table. I just feel like part of what you're doing is you're chumming the water and you are specifically looking for fish. Now it's funny, as a poker player, I fucking love fish. I eat fish all the goddamn time. And I don't even understand why I can't make that mindset switch. Like I've seen some of the best poker players be some of the best sports card people. Blaz brothers, I bet you understand what I'm talking about. Poker and sports cards are very similar. You can sell a narrative. You can sell a story, dude. It's storytelling. And it's playing people, position, stats, odds. Oh, that's why. Anyway, the other one was Phil. Phil even made a comment. I think he's on that spitting ball thing, and they were talking about tiny cards. And he made a similar comment about if you find an uneducated buyer, they'll buy some of that. It was, I don't want to misword it, but again, it was just two instances where I thought to myself, yeah, this is the hobby. And it made me again correlate to poker. If you're a poker player, if you're a bad enough poker player and you keep getting your ass beat, eventually I'm gonna let you into the team of sharks. I'm gonna let you feed on some fish. You ever had that guy? He's like, he comes over, he'll host a couple games. He's got the big bankroll, he feeds the everybody. Every now and then you guys let him win a big one. You know what I'm talking about? It's the same thing with sports cards community. There are people who just prey off of each other. It maybe not everybody. And I guess I'll just tell you this. In my sports card community, that's what I've seen. That's why I kind of stay back. Okay. There are few people that you can 100%. I trust everyone a little bit, trust no one completely. So back to this card collector, GeeOff, talking about this. And what really irked me was they're talking about the prices of Chrome and how valuable it's going to be and how much it should be. And well, you're going to have Curry in there and LeBron in there, and you're going to have Wembanyama in there, $200 to $300. This could be $1,000 box. I don't know. Well, here's the thing, guys. I guarantee you at that convention, Topps told you what it's going to cost you, or you got some idea what it's going to cost. I'm going to bet they probably talked a little about suggested retail price. If they didn't, I'm surprised. Like, how are they going to figure that out? Dutch Evan auctionist? I don't know, but it really kind of gets my goat because, like, so many people have called out for years, these guys were warning against unlicensed. And I'll say this: everybody will make their own decision. I will go after Topps Chrome because I see a play in it for money. Now, I'll say this too: I will likely go after it in breaks, buying the specific team once I see the checklist that I want. I do not think I'm going to be chasing packs. I might buy singles, or buying boxes. If I buy boxes, I'll probably flip them. I will look for some Sapphire Chrome at the Fanatics Fest, is what I'm expecting. Fanatics Sapphire Chrome basketball is what I'm expecting. I'm gonna play, like I said, I'll play each thing as it comes individually, but just a very interesting. I'll put it this way: I'd rather be listening to someone like Flipping Steve talk about this, right? Even though he's not really in the chase game. And I mean, clearly, I would love to be giving you my opinion of it, but I like people who are doing it, who are in breaks, who are chasing products, who look at the checklist. Oh, here's another great channel: Sold Too Early, Sold Too Early podcast. That would be a great guy that you get insight from on the product, the checklist, what's coming out, or the chases, where we go after. I love that more strategy. In fact, tonight I will be on with Michael Ham about 9 o'clock, and we'll be talking breaks. We're talking strategy, talking about some of these conferences coming up. So please join me live tonight. That's right, live tonight. You want to talk about any of the stuff we talked about? Be on there later on. Okay, let's wrap this up. GameStop selling PSA slabs. I mentioned that. Several people have talked about this. I think it's interesting. I could care less. I guess they're buying them too. I don't do Pokemon. I've thought about it, just not my thing. Last, I'm gonna close on this. So Steve talked about last week on Off Centered about he thinks that influencers should share more of their expenses when they go to a show. Is people someone paying for them? Is their table free? How are they paying for their Uber? Who's paying for their medical insurance? Who cuts their lawn when they're gone? How takes care of their dog? All these expenses that come in to show that hey, it's not all glamour and glitz. Being a sports card influencer going from show to show. I don't disagree with you. I think it'd be great. But I thought it was ironic because he's sitting there. You got Dustin right there who kind of sells this idea that he's a sports card influencer, that right. He goes to show. He's got cards. He's now selling what's it, Bowman cards now, Bowman football. I'm thinking, well, why don't you start by asking, Dustin there? And he put out a video today. And I will say this real quickly. Dustin says today that he still has a full-time day job like I do. I was blown away by that. Dustin, I really thought you were a full-time sports card influencer. This actually explains a lot to me now. I might have just changed my whole tone, man. Like, okay, now I know why you are doing sometimes what you do. That's your prerogative. Would I be like that? No. Yeah, I'd have a full-time job, but this still is my hobby. Like, I still don't have some desire that I'll be Alpha Rudy and running a channel about sports cards. At best, what I'm hoping for is that enough people will listen to me that they'll make some changes to shit and they'll make this goddamn hobby better, not bigger. Personally, I'm fine with the way it is. I don't really need anything free. I like to make sure the access I get's fair. That way, when a drop happens, I feel like I get an access to it. I'd like to believe no boxes are loaded, and if they are, that only I get them. Now that's just kidding. Okay, like, comment, subscribe. I got to get on to other things. Like I said, join me a little bit later on tonight with Michael Han on Breaking Bad.